Hi, my name is Mandy Woodland. I'm a co-founder and CEO of AMP Health, where we're on a mission to help millions of people prevent type 2 diabetes.
So what is it about entrepreneurship that kind of pulls you towards there?
It's a combination of having ADHD and being interested in chasing or following unique things. So it's that curiosity piece. And then also a whole bunch about controlling your own destiny.
Mm.
And so that was a big thing for me as a teenager and as an adult, seeing other people, like during, say, the closure of the cod fishery and a lot of layoffs around the 90s, and seeing all this happen where I thought, if I work for myself, then I can prevent that from happening.
Yeah. Okay. And could you tell us a little bit about AMP Health? So what exactly do you do?
Absolutely. So at Ep Health, we're on a mission to help millions of people prevent type 2 diabetes. So we really care about keeping your blood glucose in range.
Okay.
So typically, if you were at high risk or you were having some problems, you'd go to your family doctor or your neighborhood pharmacist or community health nurse and get your hemoglobin A1C checked. And what that is about a 3-month average of what your blood sugar's been.
Hmm.
And if it's too high, they'll tell you you have diabetes. If it's high but not quite high enough, they'll tell you you have prediabetes or
Okay.
you're at high risk.
Hmm.
And so where we come in is at that stage where you've been told you're at high risk or you've been diagnosed with prediabetes,
Yep.
and we help you keep your blood sugar in range doing a couple of different key things. So we provide people with an off-the-shelf continuous glucose monitor, so that just attaches to your arm, feeds real-time blood glucose data to your phone or your watch or to us. And we then prompt you with behavioral changes to help you keep that in range when you're having spikes. So there are, on average, about 25 different behavior change techniques in clinical psychology. Most solutions on the market in behavior change use two or three, and we're using all of them in a really unique and personalized way when we onboard people to help them figure out their motivation style and what works for them, what kind of language, what kind of movement, and all those kinds of things to give them a really specific solution. And there's no tracking, you don't have to track your food. There's We try and take away all the heavy lifting and all the judgment
Hmm.
because there's a lot of shame around type 2 diabetes particularly, and that's one of the things we really want to overcome.
What was the aha moment that got you to founding like AMP Health? What was it? Yeah.
So I think the biggest prompt for that was just before the pandemic hit. I had been working on a consulting project with the health authority and met a clinical psychologist based out of Dalhousie that has been working solely in diabetes and obesity and behavior change for the past 35 years. And he's the most fascinating human, has these amazing experiences, is a real expert in the field. And that got me interested in how we could tie that in with technology. And so early pandemic, I was doing a consulting project that got canceled. So I had some more free time, and um, that's kind of where it came from. Myself and two friends said, "Yeah, we want to get back into tech startup." And I said, "Well, as luck would have it, I've been really interested in this particular problem and how we can scale it,
Hmm.
the solution." And so that's where AMP came from.
So when you say the actual device, so can you explain to me a little bit about so what exactly is the device doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so continuous glucose monitors have gained a lot of traction in the past couple of years. So it's a tiny device that has a little tiny probe that's injected through a needle. It sits just under your skin and measures your blood glucose and your interstitial fluid. So really close to the surface. And for us, we really just care about trends, so your
Hmm.
ups and downs. But they kind of launched as a means for people with type 1 diabetes to manage their insulin intake
Yeah.
so that you have much better access to data. One of the things we've learned over the past number of years is that access to real time data enables everybody to make different decisions.
Mm.
And so Dr. Vallis, our key behavioral psychologist, published a paper last year talking about exactly how a device can be like an external memory. And so you talked earlier about this, when the complications come really far down the road,
Hmm.
how do you feel motivated? Sometimes it's that real time data. So I'll get a notification on my watch, like my blood sugar's low or it's high. that is a really big difference in me pricking my finger after dinner and saying, "It's not high right now." Well, it's
Mm.
gonna be in an hour, and I wouldn't know that without that real-time data.
So Mandy, could you tell me a little bit about what the process is? So let's say that I've gone to the doctor, I've gotten my, my blood results back. What happens then
Yeah.
to then becoming an AMP Health user?
So there's kind of 2 paths right at the beginning. One is you've gone to the physician, or your community health nurse or your pharmacist, because a lot of people are getting access to that stuff in different ways now that we have a much more challenge in getting access to primary care. And someone's told you you're at high risk, or you've found out yourself in some way. And so then typically what happens is you're told to literally, this is usually the language: eat better, move more, come back in 3 to 6 months. So
Helpful.
we're working with health systems, physicians, pharmacists, all the care providers in your circle of care who would then refer you to us. And so you'd get referred by your pharmacist, community care, or you could self select. So you can go on our website and say, hey, keep me posted. I want to sign up for the wait list. And we could bring you in at some point. So then what happens is we'd screen you. So one of our diabetes educators or nurses would do a little phone call or an online thing. Again, with different populations, with older populations and some rural populations, people want to do that by phone. So we have an option for that.
Mhm.
And then, but for most of us who don't like to talk to people, you can do it yourself on the app. And then we'd figure out, is this a good fit for you? And if it is, then we'd figure out who's going to pay for it.
Mhm.
So, for the most part, we sell through health systems, insurers, private payers, things like that. So, as a patient, you wouldn't pay. In the US, we're working on kind of reimbursement pathways for digital health products. So, again, so people could get reimbursed from their insurer. And then, yeah, you sign up. We provide you with the app, so you get everything in the mail, the device, the software. You do all the onboarding, and then, yeah, go from there. People lose momentum really quickly. So if I have a couple of days of closing my rings, for example, on my Apple Watch, and then I have a day where I don't, it's really hard to start over
Tell me about it. Mhm.
because you feel like, oh, well, what's the point now? So we actually don't do any of that.
Okay.
There's no continuous, it's literally one day. The next day is a whole nother day. If you had a bad day today, what we will tell you is here's some data on how many other people had a bad day today. It's okay. Tomorrow's a whole nother day. So we're not
Mm.
trying to do streaks or ongoing trends because that's really hard.
Mm.
Motivation is hard enough on its own. And when you add in that dejection from that failure
Yep.
day, I'm
Yep.
using air quotes here because um, it's not failure, and trying to reframe how we talk about failure and success and behavior change and motivation, that we humanize how hard it is and how sustainable it can be if we just start over every morning.
You'd mentioned failure and how that's kind of, behavior change. Have you
Yeah,
taken that, and I mean, I how has failure does that kind of feed into your mission at all, AMP Health?
every
Like how yeah.
everything. I mean, we want to make failure not a bad thing. Um, we talk a lot about it in entrepreneurship, as you
Mhm.
know, that failure is part of the journey,
Yep.
right? You hear all the different lines about, 100 no's to get to one yes if you're fundraising or trying to sell a product. So failure is just part of it. And how we accept that is really, really important, whether it's in behavior change or in entrepreneurship or
Yeah.
running a company. And we have a lot of language we work on with people around that shame piece.
Mhm.
People feel like when they have a chronic illness, there's a lot of judgment from society. People assume if you have type 2 diabetes that you're lazy or you eat poorly. I know a lot of type 2 diabetics who are some of the fittest people I know, who run marathons and who um, eat exceptionally well, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they are prone to this disease,
Yep.
right? So having conversations around the behavior change is really important, but it's not you as a failure. Like, you have chronic disease. That's it.
Yep.
How do we manage it so you can have the longest, healthiest life possible with your disease?
Newfoundland and Labrador has quite a, I think quite a high rate
Mhm.
of diabetes. Is there a reason why you'd wanted to start here, and how do you think, yeah, that this could really help the province?
Being part of the tech ecosystem here for the past 20 years or so, has meant I've gotten kind of a front row seat to a lot of really cool changes and a lot of really exciting things happening here. And so for me, it was important to start here and to stay here and build the company here. We've been fortunate to receive a lot of help from the all the ecosystem partners. So, both the federal and provincial programs, from techNL, from Bounce itself, support on travel and support in terms of business connections, growth, export, all those kinds of things.
Mm.
Our key advisors are in the US, and when we have calls with them to talk about, next steps or non-dilutive funding, one of the things that blows their mind every time is how much support there is here. They're like, "Where are you? And what is happening there? How do you have all this support?" And we're like, "Yeah, this is why we're in Canada. This is why we're in Newfoundland and Labrador." We get questions all the time from folks like, "When are you moving to the US?" or "Are you going to set up your company elsewhere?" I say, "Well, if Verifin can do it here, then anyone can do it here."
Mhm.
And so we've proven it through some of the great success stories from here that kind of doesn't matter where you are or where your market is, but you can build a great company in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Anybody who wants to go into health tech, what advice would you have for them?
That's a great question. Health tech is definitely one of the most exciting fields on the go right now.
Mhm.
There's so much opportunity when we look at what's happening with generative AI and with medical devices themselves.
Mhm.
The opportunities are endless. I think it's much more challenging than starting a lot of software tech companies where the regulatory pathways are more challenging, the reimbursement pathways are challenging, the sales cycles are really long. Um, so, like starting any company, I would say you want to be in it for the right reasons and for the long haul.
Mm.
But the reward is so high, especially when you can make outcomes to people's health.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy, for yeah, for this lovely chat and for really kind of inspiring me. And I wish you really all the best in tackling diabetes and helping with the diabetes management because I think it's a big problem that needs a big solution. And I think you have that. So thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.